So this takes place before the game actually starts. This is on board the submarine on the way to Shadow Moses Island.
It's been a long time, Snake.
I should have known you were behind this, Colonel.
I think it's kind of weird that they replaced Solid Snake's body with a piece of beef jerky for this cutscene.
I just invited you here so we could have a talk.
Invited?
Butt naked.
You call sending armed soldiers after me?
Sorry if they were a little rough with you. But we've got a serious situation here. Only you can get us out of it.
I'm retired from Foxhound.
He's gotten a lot worse attitude since Metal Gear 2.
Which Snake is this?
This is Solid Snake.
Oh. Really?
Yeah.
That's not what I thought he would look like.
Who's this?
I think Solid Snake is supposed to actually look exactly like Jonathan Ingram from Policenauts, and by extension, Gillian Seat from Snatcher.
Is that why they left his mullet in place? Like, just for the first 20 minutes?
Yeah, he only had a mullet in this game. In the first two games, he was a lookalike of Kyle Reese from Terminator, and then in the second game, he was Mel Gibson. And now he's Jonathan Ingram, Part 2, with no blue hair. I think it's really neat that the display on the screen actually plays the same sound effects as the in-game menu.
What was he doing when they caught him? Or grabbed him?
He retired from Foxhound again after Solid Snake, so he's been spending his time boozing it up in Alaska, racing dogs.
A nuclear weapon?
I'm afraid so. You see, the island is the site of a secret nuclear weapons disposal facility.
I thought all the nukes were gone.
Yeah. According to Metal Gear 2, all of the nukes in the world were dismantled and only Zanzibar land had nukes, but then that was completely thrown out the window because Hideo Kojima wanted to write a story that was anti-nuclear war. So this game follows the real-world amount of nukes per country. Matter of fact, we'll actually be, through a series of codec calls, we can actually learn a lot about what countries have what nukes.
Secondly, you're to
Why do we have XYZ coordinates?
Oh, that's where the camera's pointing.
Oh.
And stop them if they do. Any questions, Snake?
Questions? I haven't even said whether I'd accept this mission.
Well, you can make up your mind after you hear more about the situation.
Plus, we are on the submarine on the way to the mission, so it'd be kind of awkward if you declined now.
About the nuclear weapon disposal facility.
The disposal facility includes a hardened underground base. Even with our most advanced intelligence gathering equipment, we can't tell what's happening inside.
So someone needs to penetrate, gather intelligence, and report back.
Sounds like a job for a Solid Snake.
What's the insertion method?
Well, an air insertion is impossible.
Not with this storm going on.
They're still in Alaska?
They're on their way to an island that is offshore from Alaska. That's why...
So, they just literally picked him up on the way there?
Yeah, make a pit stop. That's why he's still getting explained the mission when he's already on his way there, is because they didn't have time. Maybe they only chose Solid Snake because he was so close. They're like, okay, what's the closest operative we've got? Or press for time here.
Yeah, because we'll have like 20 minutes on the way there after we grab somebody.
Who's free? Snake.
Let me just check Craigslist for Alaska local listings for special ops agents and,
What's his Yelp page look like? 3 stars? Okay. Oh wait, 4 stars. He's an executive. Okay. Jennifer was doing the recruiting.
An executive? Somebody send this guy a rocket launcher.
Secret black op. Don't expect any official support.
What's the time limit?
24 hours. They say they'll launch after 24 hours.
Do they say what the target will be?
So far, they haven't mentioned the target.
When did the countdown start?
5 hours ago.
Now that actually doesn't factor into the game at all. We can take as long as we want.
Oh, okay.
For some of these cutscenes, you actually have control of the camera with the D-pad, so I can pan around, and some of the other ones, you can switch between cameras. So which means I just get to pan the camera at his junk, which I would spend the entire time doing if it wasn't a recording.
Junker.
Yeah, Junker HQ, that's what I refer to my bedroom
At
as.
this point, they're still video conferencing with each other.
If that's a real nuclear warhead, shouldn't they issue a COG?
Not yet. The Secretary of Defense has operational control and is fully aware of the situation. After you infiltrate, if you determine they possess nuclear launch capability...
Okay, his abs just looks like a Nestle Bunch of Crunch right now.
If they haven't relocated to the nuclear shelter under Mount Washington, I suppose there isn't that much reason to worry yet. Is the National Security Agency in on this?
Yes. So is the DIA, the Defense Intelligence Agency.
I'm glad they gave him smokes.
I'm still getting a bad feeling about this.
They'll be sending us some support.
We don't need desk jockeys. We need a nuclear weapons specialist.
Of course. A nuclear weapons specialist has already been assigned to us.
A specialist from NASA?
We need backup from a specialist. I'm just an amateur.
They call me
when it
Black
comes to
too.
nuclear weapons.
I know. That's why I've requested the assistance of a military analyst named Nastasha Romanenko. She'll be providing you backup by Codec.
A female analyst?
She's built up an impressive record as an advisor for the Nuclear Emergency Search Team.
She smoked enough cigarettes to rival even you. She wouldn't take it out for this profile photo we took of her.
Where's she working from?
At her home in Los Angeles.
California. Seems like a million miles away. Colonel, you're retired.
Actually, Snake, you're retired too, twice over.
Because there aren't many people who know Foxhound as well as I do.
Is he standing over a projector screening of this?
Oh, no, Campbell was blocking
The camera? But you can, like, see his entire arm. Is he really tiny?
No, Campbell's holding up,
Tell me the
puppet figures for Snake, acting this out, and that one was blocking the camera.
Oh, I see.
Sorry. I'll be frank.
Frank Yeager.
No, Frank died.
Held hostage.
Who is it?
My niece, Meryl.
Wait, what?
What was your niece doing here?
She was supposed to be in police knots.
Were reported missing the day of the revolt. And my niece was one of those called in as an emergency replacement.
She looks like you.
She's my little brother's girl. He died in the Gulf War.
Yeah, it's literally just Meryl Silverberg again. From Police
Personal
Knots.
Colonel. That's not very soldierly.
I'm retired. I'm just an old man now. And I'm your friend.
Since when are we friends?
I've thought of us as friends since the fall of Zanzibar.
With my personality, I don't have too many friends.
That's what I trust about you. It's what makes you human. Please, Snake. Save my niece, Meryl.
All right. But I have two conditions.
Name them.
Stop changing your codec frequency.
Disclosure at all times. Two, I'll only accept orders directly from you, Colonel. No cutoffs involved, okay?
If I catch you wearing one pair of jorts, Colonel, it's all over.
But one thing.
What?
I'm not a colonel anymore. Just a retired old warhorse.
I understand, Colonel.
So is this a series of different videos, or is this just one really long one?
From the menu, you can view several different tapes, which unlock further tapes from that. And then after you watch all of them, you unlock the last one.
Is there something special about the last one?
No.
I'm not a nurse.
Oh.
It's just that it would have to come last for plot reasons.
What was that injection for?
It's a combination of nanomachines and an anti-freezing peptide so that your blood and other bodily fluids don't freeze, even at subarctic temperatures.
Nanomachines.
That's why I'm allowed to be so cold to you, Snake, and you can't feel a thing.
Your Campbell impression is really bad.
That was Naomi.
Oh god!
To worry about.
Oh boy.
A class of drugs which will help improve your mental functioning.
It'll make me smarter, huh? Anything else?
Yes, Benzedrine. It's a type of stimulant. It'll keep you alert and responsive for 12 straight hours.
I don't think any amount of anti-freezing peptides and nootropics makes it a good idea to sit naked in subarctic temperatures.
We gotta make sure it's working.
This is actually a VR simulation test of the peptides. Snake, can you sit naked for the entire duration of a trip, just in case
we didn't have one thing to insert into you that'll make you immune to smoke, so...
Manufacturing company. What business did they have at a nuclear weapons disposal facility?
These are very disgruntled individuals.
Exercises were being conducted.
Everybody in Metal Gear Land, their face is being sucked toward the center, unless they're a woman.
Involved. Were they testing some kind of new advanced weapon?
I'm not privy to that information.
They're not testing any type of nuclear quick-walking battle tank. Just to make sure. It's the last 2 times.
They're testing for exercise fitness.
Right.
They just said they've actually been exercising their latest walker's legs. You can't just blow it up anymore.
Yeah, if I don't see a Metal Gear doing squats in this game, it's game over for me.
They plan to use.
Was the number confirmed?
I'm afraid
There's no reason for him to be naked for the rest of this briefing.
It's what Snake is most comfortable in.
Mm-hmm. The snake has shed his skin.
Prevent this type of terror.
yes. Every missile and warhead in our arsenal is equipped with a PAL, which uses a discrete detonation code.
PAL.
We call it the buddy system.
The safety control system built into all nuclear weapons systems. But even so, we can't rest easy.
Why not?
Because the DARPA chief knows the detonation code.
But even if they have a nuclear warhead, it must have been removed from its missile. All the missiles on these disposal sites are supposed to be dismantled. It's not that easy to get your hands on an ICBM.
That used to be true. But since the end of the Cold War, you can get anything if you have enough money and the right connections.
Colonel sounds like way too excited about that idea.
He just got really good deals on Amazon.com.
I'm not actually a Colonel Snake. I bought this on eBay. I had a connection to eBay. Wait, why does he sound like Snake? Oh no. Yeah, that's a problem. Whenever I try to do a Metal Gear impression, it just ends up coming out as Snake again anyway.
Everyone is Snake in Metal Gear.
Oh, plot twist.
Generation Special Forces. They're not your average grunts either.
Far from it, I'm afraid.
It takes 4 punches.
So what exactly are they demanding?
Are they hardened veterans in the field, or are they hardened veterans of Foxhound? Because I don't think we've ever heard of these 6 before.
I think the idea is they were big during Solid Snake's tenure at Foxhound, but they've never met.
So they were on staff, like, when Gray Fox got captured, and it wasn't weird at all that they would send the rookie?
Well, could you imagine the guy who was really good at Revolver just going in and taking on Big Boss?
Well, I mean, they'd be part of Big Boss's personal guard, right? Wouldn't they be people that Big Boss can trust to
be in Outer Heaven the whole time?
Yeah, even pretend to goof up the mission or something for him.
Yeah, they could have. For all we know, Decoy Octopus was several of those people in Outer Heaven that we didn't actually kill and didn't actually die from the bomb.
Rescued!
And then talks into a receiver on his watch. Boss, he's on the move.
With beneficial effects, such as resistance to cancer, for example.
In other words, we can overcome all sorts of genetic diseases and at the same time add genetic characteristics as desired.
Okay. And so if you knew what genes were responsible for making the perfect soldier, you could implant them in the same way, right?
We call him the Gray Gene.
But it all
Gray Fox
depends on
genes.
being able to isolate and identify those soldier genes.
And in order to do that, it's helpful if you can study the genomic information of one of the greatest soldiers ever.
Machine Gun Kid.
Hind D.
One of the greatest soldiers ever?
The man they call the greatest warrior of the 20th century.
You don't mean Big Boss.
The way Snake phrased that question, he's like, "You don't mean Big Boss, that fool I took out with a lighter and a can of hairspray." All the rocket launchers that hit him in the torso, kind of softened him up, I think. So he wasn't really at the top of his game anymore.
He had a gun. Compared to an aerosol can and a lighter.
I know that's supposed to be Big Boss's beard, but it does look like he's wearing giant clown makeup with a frowny face. That's really why they want Big Boss's corpse, is so they can paint him up like a clown as a goof. That eye patch isn't actually on there. It's just it's a Sharpie they drew on him when he was passed out.
What they are by acquiring their skills through training or experience. We now know that hereditary factors are far more crucial for
I wonder if Solid Snake feels a little bit insulted that Big Boss is considered the greatest soldier of the 20th century when he beat him twice. One time when he was unarmed.
I hear the terrorists are
It's like,
calling themselves
doesn't anybody want my genes?
I'm wondering if Solid Snake feels insulted that they're talking about genes while he's naked. Does anybody want my genes?
Hell, I'd settle for a pair of Levi's. They don't have to be soldier jeans. I changed my mind. I'll take the cutoffs, Colonel.
Is that why all the soldiers in the previous games have been so incompetent? It's because they were genetically bad? Is that the game's excuse?
Well, we were just experimenting with the gene therapy, so we actually took out all of the necessary genes for a functional human being on accident.
We were able to salvage linear sight.
Barely. Their sense of hearing was reduced to determining whether a noise happened or not. It's binary senses.
They could no longer tell night from day. We installed owls.
They were part of Big Boss's private guard. And after Big Boss went down, the military just bought out all their contracts.
Outer heaven.
After that, they were merged with our own VR unit, Force 21, and retrained.
You'd think that the US military would be a little skeptical of the people that were close to Big Boss.
They have no real battle experience.
Video game players, huh?
Wink.
Don't forget that they've been
He did look straight at me.
gene therapy. They carry genes which make them excellent soldiers. Don't get careless just because they don't have much experience.
I thought using genetically modified soldiers was prohibited by international law.
Yes, but those are just declarations, not actual treaties.
The interesting thing is that nearly every member of the unit conspired in this attack.
How could an entire unit be subverted to rebellion?
They're calling it a revolution.
Since they all went through the same gene therapy, they probably felt closer than brothers. They see the unit as their only family.
The sons of Big Boss. But if they were regular army, they must have been interviewed periodically by army counselors.
According to their files, they all got straight A's on their psychological tests. They all seemed like fine, upstanding, patriotic soldiers.
But they all
Yes, Snake, we played the national anthem for them, and they all stood at 90 degrees and saluted for 30 seconds.
That's all it takes to get an A.
Well, Snake, we've relaxed the requirement entries. It's a giant step up from being able to determine a noise or not.
Apparently they consulted classified information about the soldier genes and performed their own gene therapy experiments.
They can do that even without you?
Well, our gene therapy process is almost completely automated. And besides that, they're all geniuses with IQs over 180.
Now, throughout the game, I really want you to keep that tidbit in mind. They're all geniuses with IQs over 180.
Hoping to investigate this thing quietly and deal with it behind closed doors. High-tech Special Forces Unit Foxhound. Your former unit, and one that I was a commander of. An elite group combining firepower and expertise. They're every bit as good as when I was commanding them.
So they're still around.
So it's safe to assume that Colonel did oversee missions that were carried out by these members of Foxhound, and I would love to have a game where you get to play as Colonel directing these 6 people around.
Deadly sharpshooter, decoy octopus, master of disguise, Vulcan Raven.
Does the fact that he's either giant or shaman even become relevant? I don't quite understand what his specialty is.
He also can control ravens to a certain extent. I think the balance of power in these Foxhound group is kind of lopsided. Like one guy who has the ultimate power of ESP and can hypnotize people and read their minds, and then another guy is really good at shooting revolvers.
Only revolvers.
Yeah.
Liquid Snake.
Liquid Snake.
I think I used a series of plumbing products called Liquid Snake once.
How'd that turn out?
He fought in the Gulf War.
Oh no. That was the joke.
His job was to track down and destroy mobile
I was expecting more punchline.
Oh.
You were there too, I believe.
Oh.
Didn't you infiltrate?
Oh.
Well.
It seems that originally he penetrated the Middle East as a sleeper for the SIS.
He was a spy for the British Secret Intelligence Service?
But he never once showed his face in Century House. He was taken prisoner in Iraq, and after that there was no trace of him for several years. After you retired, he was rescued and became a member of Foxhound.
I thought that by the time I left, they were no longer using code names.
I don't know his real name.
Wait, so everyone else is using a real name?
Yeah, everybody else is actually named Revolver Ocelot, etc.
What?
No, I don't know what they mean by that. They keep using code names forever.
I really wish my parents didn't name me Coward.
Skin tone is different, but otherwise you two are exact duplicates.
I have a twin?
I don't know the details, but it seems so. That's why we really need you for this mission.
You're the only one who can beat him.
Snake, if there's one thing I've learned from watching anime... No, scratch that. I can't do the accent.
I can see
I can't say anime in any other accent.
Anime?
That thought more.
British is the same thing as Australia, right?
Anime.
Oh, anime. British is the same thing as on draw, right?
Oh, wait, pop. Pop another anime in the VHS, eh?
I need to borrow your scissors.
What are you going to do?
I'm gonna cut my arm off.
To clean myself up a little.
I only need one eye.
I don't want to be mistaken for the leader.
You see it in my eyes, well, not anymore.
Uncle. Since it's a solo mission and he won't be in direct contact with anybody, isn't it better that he gets mistaken for the leaders of the terrorists?